AM Guitar Repair in Davenport, Iowa. Alan has a really interesting story to share with all of you. Music has always been a big part of his life. As a freshman in high school, he put together his first guitar. He went to Southwestern Community College and studied economics and or electronics and applied sciences. In 2003, he started offering guitar lessons in the evenings and the weekends to pay for some of his college. In May in 2008, he launched AM Guitar Repair as a part-time business from his home. In January of 2009, he was faced with the decision of leaving his job of 22 years of experience in the industry or taking his part-time business full-time. And obviously, he chose the latter. In 2010, he grew out of his home and actually obtained some office space in a location. In 2011, he's hired a part-time employee. And now he can add to his list of accomplishments. He is a webinar presenter for My Intranet. It's my pleasure to welcome Alan Morrison to today's webinar. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Go ahead and take it away, Alan.
All right. Well, thanks, Rob. I'm going to click over to the next slide and kind of show you what we're going to go over today. I'm going to talk about the history and growth of my business, and then some of the strategies that I use to run my business, like advertising on a budget, networking, customer service, financial strategies, some of the challenges that I face as a small business owner, and then also the rewards. So we'll kind of just get rolling here. If anybody has any questions or anything, just feel free to type them in and we can answer those as we go. So Rob kind of summed up the history. It's kind of how a hobby gone awry turned into an obsession and then a profession. And I'll talk a little bit about the early years because this started back when I was very young. I was fascinated by the guitar at an early age. And I was 12 years old when I started getting serious about it, about 6th grade, when I got my first electric guitar. And I always enjoyed learning how things work, tearing things apart and putting them together. And I built my first electric guitar when I was in high school then. And when I was in high school, I would order all these guitar part catalogs and kind of, design my dream guitar. And now I'm actually a dealer for a lot of those part companies that I used to look at the catalogs for hours. And I also have played in bands since I was in high school too. From about the time I was 16, I was playing in a band, and I'm still doing that on the weekends as well with a band called Identity Crisis. And I'll give you their website too as well. In college, I went to electronics school at Southwestern Community College in Creston, like Rob said. And I started giving guitar lessons at a local music store there in Creston. And I see we have SWIC alumni on here. Clint, good to see you. Was giving lessons there. Found out that guitar lessons were actually pretty easy money. Just, teaching people how to play and watch them learn to enjoy the guitar as much as I did. I got my electronics degree there, and I kind of went to college with the intention of, that would help me learn to work on my own amplifiers and other people's as well. But right out of college, I ended up in the office equipment business for a year. And after doing that, I had an opportunity to work in Atlantic, Iowa at Otmar Music Center. So I moved there. While I was there, I ended up getting in a band with some people from Adair, Iowa, which I played in for 13 years. And then the music store was fun. I worked on guitars, amplifiers, organs, sound systems. I sold sound systems and guitars, gave guitar lessons there as well. And it was a fun job, but I ended up getting married and needed more money. So we moved to Des Moines and got back in the office equipment industry. And after being in Des Moines for a while, I was promoted to a management position and moved to Davenport, where I'm now today. And I started giving guitar lessons here in Davenport. I just had a friend of the family ask if I would teach his daughter. So I started with her, and pretty soon I had 3 students. Then I had 10, and it just kind of grew from there. And I would have occasion where I would need to repair their guitars for them as well. So, you know, making a little extra money doing that. And I wanted to get back into building guitars. And so I wanted to learn more about like refinishing and things like that. I got involved with an internet forum called Guitar Re-Ranch that is, you know, got a bunch of people that do guitar refinishing and repairs and restoring and building. And that's been a good forum. I learned a lot on that. And actually, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people on that forum, like myself, into the guitar business full time. One person in California he turned his family cabinet shop business that wasn't doing so great into a guitar manufacturing uh, factory and is doing very well there. Um, and then the other thing that I needed help with was fretwork. That's pretty involved as far as guitar repair goes. So I went to Chicago to the Guitar School of Guitar Making and went to a fretwork class there. And so I pretty much had it covered at that point. And then in 2007, I was at a funeral for a friend who was a guitar player, and he had passed away from cancer, and he had a lot of friends that played guitar as well. And I was sitting at a table with a bunch of our mutual friends who were guitar players, and they were all talking about who was going to repair their guitars now because the person they used to take their guitars to had moved out of the state. And so I said, well, you know, I kind of raised my hand and said, I do that stuff. And so they kind of started bringing their guitars to me and then telling their friends. And pretty soon it just, it kind of grew. And I decided to make the business official. I went and got the state sales tax license, got the business name registered. I launched my website. I just had a friend show me how to use Microsoft Front Page. And I did my own website, which if you look at it, you can tell I did it myself. So I've had offers to upgrade it, but it's serving its purpose. It's helping people find me, which is what I wanted, and I may be looking at upgrading it soon. Um, my web host is Kelly Webworks out of Cedar Rapids, and he helped me with the keywords and everything. And so if you Google guitar repair Davenport, Iowa, or guitar repair Quad Cities, or any of the Quad Cities here, Moline, I pretty much fill up the first page of the Google search, which that's been very helpful. And I was also at this time getting referrals from a lesson studio and a pretty good sized guitar shop here in town, and I'll talk about that a little more later on in the presentation. About the middle of 2008, around July or so, I was still working my full-time management job and giving lessons, doing repairs every day till 10 o'clock at night and all weekend. And so it was getting pretty stressful. It just continued to grow, and so I started thinking more seriously about what I really wanted to do, and whether I wanted to go full time in the guitar business or start turning business away. And my wife had been to a women's conference, and one of the seminars that she went to was on following your dreams, and she picked up a CD of that and gave it to me, which I just kind of set it aside. Said I'm not going to listen to a women's conference seminar. But then one day I threw the CD in the car, and I had to drive to Dubuque, so I thought, well, I'll just listen to that. And it was called, it was based on a book called The Dream Giver, which I would recommend to anybody. It's by author, his name is Bruce Wilkinson. And the book is that everyone is born with a purpose, and everyone is given a dream, usually when they're young. And it's a Christian book. And so the more I listened to the CD and the more I read the book, I decided I'm going to try this, or I may end up regretting not trying it. So one day I had a business trip for my company, and my wife got to go along. So we had to drive to Minnesota together. We had several hours to visit. And I said, I either need to go full time or start turning away business. And we kind of talked and said, well, let's just set a date and do it. So that was July, and so we said, well, let's do it January 2009. It's a new year. It'll be a big change for us. So we kind of started planning for that. So all the money I was making with my side job, the guitar lessons and the repairs and everything, was either going into savings, so we'd have a cushion when the paycheck stopped, or it was going into the business to invest in the tools and things like that that I would need. The other thing that we were going to need in order to do this, I was providing all the health insurance benefits and everything like that for the family, and my wife was working in the school system, and that year they had cut her hours back by 15 minutes a day, which switched her to a part-time employee and took away any benefits. So, she said, I don't want to get a new job just to get benefits because she liked where she was at. And so, anyway, she was talking to a friend at our church that said, well, why don't you work for St. Ambrose University like I do? They have good benefits, and your kids' tuition would be free. I have 2 kids. Um, so she at that time she said, well, I like working with young kids, not college age kids. And the lady said, well, they have a children's campus there that's a preschool for infant through 5-year-olds. So she went and applied, and at the time she applied, there were no openings, but they told her, just keep watching the website. And within 2 weeks, there was an opening there. And so she went and applied for it, and she ended up getting the job. So at that point, we knew this is meant to happen this way. So we got that, and end of November, beginning of December of 2009, or 2008, I gave my 30 days notice to my company, and I would say that's probably the longest 30 days of my life. That was quite a month there. So I was so anxious to get into the guitar business full time. So some things kind of happened. How my business has grown has been kind of gradually, and just kind of going with the flow here. In order to be a repair business, I had to have sources for parts. And when you become a dealer for these part companies, you have a minimum order that you have to buy. So I had a lot of these parts sitting around, and I knew that my sister and my sister-in-law had both, done fairly well on eBay. So I kind of talked to them, and they taught me how to use it. But the things that I had were too small and low-priced items. Wouldn't be worth, just selling them individually. So I came up with the idea of packaging them, bundling them as guitar wiring kits. So with about 9 different parts, I can make over 20 different wiring kits for various popular models of guitars. And so we started selling those. And at first when we got on, we were excited if we made 1 sale a week, and then it was 1 sale a day. And now we ship out 3 to 6 packages a day. More than that on the weekends. More orders come in than that. And so that's going pretty well for us. Pretty soon, though, at that time, there were some wiring kits on eBay, and I differentiated myself by using higher quality, higher priced parts than what were on there. And now, if you look, other people have kind of followed my lead on that and are selling the same thing. So I have a little more competition than I used to with those. With eBay, there's a lot of fees if you're familiar with that. So I decided I'd open up an online store where I could avoid some of those fees, and that is guitarupgradesonline.com. And we're still on eBay. The majority of our online sales are still through eBay, but we do okay with Guitar Upgrades Online. And the company that we're through is highwire.com, and I'd recommend it. It's like starts out at around $10 a month or less to have an online store, and there's no fees whether you sell nothing or whether you sell thousands of dollars worth of parts or products. There's no extra fees other than your monthly fee. And we also, at the same time I signed up for that, I signed up to be able to accept credit cards, and I do that through propay.com. And I also recommend that as well. as my customer base grew, I was having customers ask for certain products. So that's kind of what I went by as far as what companies to do business with. I contacted companies with the best reputations, you know, the ones that I had personally used or that my customers were asking for, and so it's really grown quite a bit as far as what I carry, and these companies all have minimum first orders, so I would try to pre-sell as many as I could, and I did that, like I do it now through Facebook, but on like the guitar forum that I'm on, people there will buy parts from me as well. So I'd posted on the forum, hey, I'm placing an order with Seymour Duncan or with Fishman or whoever, and pre-sell a lot of those items. And then, if a local customer asked for those product lines, I would put the rest online on my store or on eBay. And then one of the things that I wanted to do is add another revenue stream for my company. And something that I always enjoyed doing was building guitars. And with all the parts dealerships that I had, I could buy the parts to make complete guitars. And I kind of picked parts from different companies. These aren't kit guitars. These are parts that I've picked out, different brands and stuff that all go together really well. And I did my first guitar building class in November of 2009. I only had one person in it, but it's grown from there. Last year, I did 3 guitar building classes. 2 of them were full with 5 people in each class. So you can see some pictures there of the process of building the guitars. We use pre-finished, pre-cut parts, and so most of the work is assembly and wiring the electronics and everything. The class starts at $699. That includes all the parts and the class. We do this over a weekend. We do it on a Saturday and Sunday. So, by the end of the weekend, you've built your own guitar that you got to pick all the colors, all the options. Like I said, they start at $699. A lot of people add options, and it runs up to like $800, $900, over $1,000 for some of the nicer guitars. So it kind of gives people the opportunity to build their dream guitar. So AJ has a question. Are many people from out of town? The guy holding the red guitar there is from Canada. And I was really surprised how far the news spread on this. I've had people from Jefferson City, Missouri, down by Peoria, Illinois. So yeah, I do have a lot of out-of-town people come to this. And I'll kind of get into how they found out about me as well when we get into the networking section of this. About this time last year, I was outgrowing the basement of my house and started looking at commercial space, but the cost was just too prohibitive for me, to move into commercial space. But we came to a building. It's the building on the upper left corner there. It's called the Pierce School Mall. And it's a schoolhouse that was built in 1899, and it's a 3-story red brick building. There's been warehouse space added onto the back of it that you can't see in the picture, but it's just a really cool building. We came here to get our family pictures taken at a place called Photo Frog that's here. And while we were getting our pictures taken, I mentioned this would be a cool place for my guitar shop. And the photographer goes, yes, you should move in here. There's a custom guitar pick manufacturer in the building. There's bands that rent rehearsal space in the warehouse section. There's a recording studio. Downstairs, it's directly below my shop. And she said there are musicians in the building all the time. So I called the landlord, and at the time he brought me over to look, and there wasn't really any place available. There was some rough areas in the basement. There was a place on the 3rd floor in the warehouse that was like 3 concrete rooms with no windows that used to be a dark room. And I said, why don't you call me back when something a little bit nicer opens up? So I've got the corner. If you look at the picture, um, on the right-hand side, if you see the 3 windows there in the middle, with the little dome tops, 2 of those on the right are mine, and then I have that corner. So quite a change from the basement. The sun shines through the windows as opposed to being in a dark basement. You can see it looks kind of like a retail shop now, instead of, just being in the basement. So I have walk-in business. Um, the people that are in music-related businesses here in the building, like the bands and the recording studio, just between those guys, they pretty much cover my rent with the business that they bring me. Cover my rent and more, actually. So, I moved here in May of last year, about mid-May. And when I moved here, business all of a sudden just slowed way down. And I thought, oh my gosh, did I do the wrong thing? But that gave me an opportunity to get the display cases in here, the workbenches set up and all that. And then go to the next slide, the Dream Big Grow here in Quad City Times. I ran across the Dream Big Grow Here competition website the day before the entry was due. So I had my wife come in and we did a short video the night before everything was due, and I submitted it. And long story short, I ended up winning it. We can talk more about that in a little bit. But also in the Quad City Times, our newspaper here, there was an article about that competition, and I commented on the online thing, saying that I was in the competition and that I was currently in first place. And then I got a call from Doug Short, who writes for the Quad City Times in their business section, and wondered if I would be interested in doing an article in the Quad City Times. And I said, sure. So he came in and interviewed me. They had a photographer come in and take some pictures. The picture that you see there on the slide, that picture was on the front page of the business section on Sunday, July 4th. And that just launched my business to a new level. All of a sudden, the phone was ringing. People were just walking in to see the place. People were bringing in guitars. A lot of people found out about me really fast. And that article just really took the business to a new level. That was in July, and just a couple weeks ago, I had somebody bring me a guitar that they said they saw my article in the paper and they cut it out. So that is still providing me with a lot of business. And like I said, I had oh, by the way, that's how the guy from Canada found out about me. He was originally from the Quad Cities, and his brother sent him that article because he knew he was interested in that. And so that article got me more guitar building class customers. It was after that article that I had the 2 full classes. I just had 1 class scheduled, and it filled up so fast I had enough overflow to do a 2nd class. By the way, if anybody's interested in guitar building classes, I am doing one June 25th and 26th here in Davenport. So you can go to my website and check that out. The Dream Big Grow Here competition was a good lesson in networking. If you're not familiar with it, you have to have people vote for you. I had people on my guitar forum voting. I had a friend of my daughter's in Ottumwa. She had all her Ottumwa friends voting for me. And I have an exchange student daughter that stayed with us from Thailand. She's back in Thailand now, but she had people over there voting for me. So ended up winning at the last minute. It was a pretty tough competition though. And what I used that money for was to buy some tools that make me more efficient, allow me to do some things quicker and do better quality work, like some fret pressing equipment as opposed to hammering frets in. Now they get gently pressed into guitars at my shop. I also used the money, some of the money, to buy an amplifier building kit And that's going to be one of my new ventures is amplifier building classes. So that's just a matter of time before that happens. Next, I'd like to talk about some of my business strategies, um, such as advertising. Uh, Specifically, right now, I'll talk about advertising online. I've got my website. I kind of talked about Microsoft front page and my web host, Kelly Webworks. And if you Google guitar repair Davenport, Iowa, I test this every so often just to see if anybody else shows up or who else shows up. But in a recent test, on page 1 of the Google search, all of page 1 led to AM Guitar Repair. The first 3 were listings of my website. One was Quad City Musicians Forum, where I was mentioned. There was a national website called repairmyguitar.com that people can go on and put in their zip code and find where the places are, and I had to register for that, but it was free. There was another listing for my Facebook page and a listing for the link from the Quad City Times article there, and another one, the Quad City Business Directory, which I signed up for, that's free. That's just page 1. On page 2, I had 8 of 10 listings, and on page 3, had 5 of 10 listings. So you can kind of see if people are looking for some place to get their guitar repaired around here, that my business looks like the obvious choice. Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, I'd highly recommend it. I was coerced into it by my wife and daughter. Myself, I was, at first I didn't want to have anything to do with it, but they said it'd be good for your business, and the best part about it is it's free. And my AM Guitar Repair page has over 300 likes. So if you're on Facebook today, I'd like everybody to sign up to like AM Guitar Repair. Even if you're not a guitar player or anything like that, you might just kind of look and see how I use it to market my business. I try to post on a regular basis. I try to post daily. That's kind of hard to do sometimes, but it just keeps my business fresh in people's minds, lets them know what I've got going on. I've made parts sales over Facebook chat, a $200 part sale just because somebody in Alabama saw that I was online and he said, "Hey, can you get this?" and sold him a bunch of parts. I've signed up guitar students over Facebook chat. Items that I want to clearance out, inventory that's been around for a while. We posted some of that online just on the Facebook page a few weeks ago, and we've only got one of the items left that we're trying to clear out. I've also put like announcements. Hey, AM Guitar is going to become a dealer for whatever company, Bill Lawrence USA. Is there anything that you would like me to put on my first order? And right away got a reply. I'll take, a L500XL pickup. So it's been pretty successful for us. So I'd highly recommend that. eBay kind of serves a dual purpose for me. It's not just to sell products. Some people find me through eBay. They find my business. And on eBay, you show where you're located. So it says that I'm in Davenport, Iowa. So I've had people, come in and pick up parts locally. I avoid the fees that way. And then a lot of times when they come in, they end up buying more than they saw on eBay. They buy a wiring kit. Oh, well, I need knobs too, and I need this, and I need that. So it can turn into larger sales. One of my experiences with that was I had somebody from Jefferson City, Missouri contact me regarding a custom wiring kit, and it was going to be about $25, and I replied back to him with a link to my website. And he replied back to me. He said, "Forget the wiring kit. I want to take your guitar building class, and I'll just pick up the wiring kit when I come up." So he took my guitar building class, and has since then, called me up and say, "Hey, I want to build another project. I need some parts." And it turns out he contacted me recently a friend of his likes the guitar that he built in the guitar building class so much that he wants one just like it. So he'll be buying the parts from me for that. Lance has a question: do I drop ship or ship yourself? I do. We do ship ourselves here. We don't have any vendors that will drop ship. So good question. And then what I call guerrilla advertising, just reviews on websites. One of the places that I buy my guitar tools from lets you review products on their website. And so whenever I get a new tool, I'll always go on and do a review on that. And my signature line is Alan Morrison, AM Guitar Repair, Davenport, Iowa. So there's just another place that my name is out there. You know, somebody might be a do-it-yourselfer and they're looking at that particular tool, and then they maybe decide, well, it's probably going to be cheaper for me to just take it somewhere and have it done if they happen to be in this area. Or commenting on Facebook on like some of my vendors' Facebook pages, you know, under the AM Guitar Repair Facebook page, posting links to my vendors' websites and to their Facebook pages as well. So it's just all about networking. Excuse me. I pretty much network everywhere I go. My vehicle has guitar logos on it with the business name. The back window has my website listed on it. And by the way, advertising on a budget. Those signs and the signs on the door to my shop, I traded Guitar Work for all that stuff. So I found a sign guy who is a guitar player, so we've bartered back and forth several times. So that's always a good way to save a little money too. Apparel, I have AM Guitar Repair logos on shirts and on the jacket. So, you know, I wear that around and people see that and will ask for business cards and things like that. And so just anything I can do to get the word out. You know, there's a quick shop just down the block from my shop that I am in about every day or every other day, and I'm wearing the jacket or whatever, the shirts. And, you know, the other day one of the clerks said, how's the guitar man today? And I said, good. And he goes, I've always been interested in guitars, but I don't have one. And I said, well, I can help you out. Stop up sometime. So you just never know who you're going to run across. Also, I have guitar picks with my logo that are made right here in the building that I'm in with Legend Picks. That's a company. They do guitar picks for Styx, Kansas, Ted Nugent, and local bands and regional bands. And so that's kind of convenient for me as well. Newspaper articles, I kind of already talked about that, but that was the best free advertising I ever got, was that newspaper article. So if you've got something that you think is of interest to your community or whatever, I'd recommend contacting the newspaper. They pretty much contacted me, which was nice, but I highly recommend that. And word of mouth, that's the best free advertising. I get lots of referrals from customers, and I've kind of learned that musicians hang out together in circles, you know, and they're always talking to each other about their gear and all that. So if you get a musician out of one of those circles to come to you for work, you're going to get, you know, maybe 3 or 4 or maybe more customers if you do a good job. And that's what I keep in mind with every repair I do is, you know, this isn't just this repair. This is this could bring me more business. I also play in a classic rock band with 13 people. We have a horn section, violin, keyboards, drums, guitars. And so a lot of people know me through that. We also have, you know, former members of the band. And a lot of the people that are in this band are actually band directors or know band directors very well in the school system. So I get some business from the Davenport and other schools as well through that. And I also play guitar at my church, so people know me from there. I just basically try to get myself out there as much as possible. My kids are in college and high school. They find business for me. I've sold a guitar to Wartburg College now, and have potential to sell them more instruments. My daughter's friends at her high school are customers of mine, and I find that people are pretty loyal to their guitar guy. You know, if it's kind of like you're their chiropractor or dentist or doctor or whatever. If you do a good job for them, they just keep coming back. And most guitar players have multiple instruments, so that's good for me as well. Um, and so I just did a check the other day. We kind of went through our customer list since we started using QuickBooks in 2009, and we have 390 customers on that list. And out of those, 129 are repeat customers, with 50 new customers that we added since the beginning of 2011. So just some numbers for you there. I also believe in partnering with other entities. When I first started the business, I walked into a lesson studio down the street from my house that with some homemade business cards and brochures, and just kind of introduced myself to the owner. And he was glad to find out there was somebody doing that, because this was around the time that the other guy had moved out of town. And so they started sending me business. Guitar Center, which is a national chain, their Davenport store started sending me business around that same time. And then about the middle of last year, I got a call from Ellis Kell at River Music Experience here in Davenport, asking me if I wanted to do my guitar building classes there. And I said, yes, that would be great. They are a nonprofit organization. They are in a building that houses a music museum related to like blues music and stuff up and down the Mississippi River. They also have Mojo's Cafe in that building, which is like a sandwich slash coffee shop deli that has live music there in the evenings and at lunchtime. And they also house the Redstone Room, which is a concert venue where they bring in national, regional, and local acts. So I was happy to get on with them. They have over 7,000 people on their email and mailing list. So that's another group of people that found out about me, and I've enjoyed doing my guitar building classes there. They also do a rock camp for kids in the summertime, where they put kids in groups and they form little bands, and it's a 2-week camp, and they learn to play together. They record a CD, and they have a concert at the end of it all, too, in the Redstone Room. Another organization that I've gotten involved with recently is Guitars for Vets. On one of the myentrée.net webinars, they talked about, a good thing to do is donate to a charitable cause. And so I had heard of Guitars for Vets and thought that would be a good cause to help out. They provide guitars and a few lessons for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. So what I decided to do was donate $5 from the sale of every Snark tuner that I sell to Guitars for Vets. I started doing this about the 2 weeks before the end of the year, and by the end of the year, I had sold enough. I donated $50 to them, and now I'm kind of letting it build up. I'm at about 120. I'd like to sell enough that I can donate an acoustic bass to them. So I need to sell somewhere between 25 and 30 more tuners so I can donate that acoustic bass. They contacted me a couple weeks ago and said that, thanked me for the donation. I told them what I was doing, and they mentioned that they're in need of acoustic basses. And you can buy these tuners on my online store at Guitar Upgrades Online. There's a link there. And they are the coolest little guitar tuners. Everybody loves them that has them. So if you know any guitar players or you play yourself, get one of these. And actually, there's two versions. There's the blue one, which is $29, and the red one, which is for all instruments that you can clip on a music stand and tune your trumpet or saxophone. But everybody loves them, and they make great gifts. So if you would like to help out Guitars for Vets, go ahead and get those on order here. Little shameless plug there. The other thing I want to talk about is customer service. When I was in the corporate world, I was a customer service manager, and one of my duties was to teach customer service classes. And we talked about communication skills, especially listening skills. And I believe that listening to my customers has really helped my business grow. Um, you know, I had a customer recently who picked up his guitar at one of my competitors' shops and brought it straight here to me. Um, he had told him he wanted it set up a certain way, and they didn't do that, and they argued with him that his way was wrong and theirs was right. But so I set it up his way, and the result of that has been that he's brought me quite a bit more business, um, just because I did it the way he wanted. Another example, somebody wanted to have new pickups put in their guitar, and the shop they took it to, evidently they didn't carry that line or whatever, but said, no, there's a reason that the guitar has the pickups that it does. You don't want those. So, um, I'm always been one to customize my guitars the way I like them, and I think everybody should be free to do that, especially if they're willing to pay for it. Um, I work on guitars for people, everybody from people that just play at home or at their church to local, regional, and national touring bands. One of the bands that rehearses here is a national touring band, and so I figure if they ask me for something, they're going to get it whether they get it from me or they buy it online or somewhere else. And I also kind of figure that if they want it, other people are going to want it. And so the result of that has been I've added several product lines, and AM Guitar Repair is the only place in the Quad Cities where you can get those specialty items. At the other end of the spectrum are the people that want you to be the expert, and so you have to be prepared for that. So I ask them questions. What kind of music do you play? What are you looking for in your sound? And then now I have a nice full line of products that I can offer them. Okay, now we'll kind of talk about financial strategies. My main financial strategy is to make money and avoid debt. I've been very lucky. AM Guitar Repair has pretty low level of debt. Basically, the only debt that I have is a small business loan that I took out in order to pay off a credit card that I used to help me get started. So that's that business loan has a lower interest rate. I recommend getting to know your bankers really well. I do have a line of credit at my bank that if I do run a little bit short, that I can borrow from at a low interest rate. But we'll talk about the revenue sources that I have. It's, while I am pretty focused on guitars, there's a lot of things I do related to that. When people ask, what I do, I say anything I can to make money with guitars. So my main source of revenue is the repair, which is labor and part sales. Um, Online sales year to date represent 31% of our revenue. So that's gone up, which is nice. Lessons, which are basically pure profit, people paying for my time, are 20% of my revenue. And then we do some guitar and amplifier sales. I do have dealerships with a guitar company, Court Brand Guitars, and get all kinds of music-related equipment through one of my suppliers that's a music store supply company. I also have income from guitar and pedal building classes that I do a few times a year, and then performance in the band Identity Crisis as well. So about 6 different revenue streams I have coming in, which is nice. If one falls off a little bit, hopefully the other picks up to make up for it. As far as costs, most of my cost is in merchandise and parts that I have to get to keep the business going. Rent, insurance, and taxes. The rent here in this building is very reasonable, which helps me out a lot. And we have postage and shipping fees, both to get merchandise in and to ship out. The merchant account fees, they're called, like the eBay fees, the ProPay when we take credit cards, and the PayPal fees. And we have our website fees, which is minimal, and office supplies. My revenue strategy is I have a weekly goal that I set for myself, and I did this from the beginning because I knew I wasn't going to be getting a regular paycheck anymore. It all depended on me. So that helps a lot to have that goal, and at any time during the week where you're at on that goal. The other thing with my business is that's pretty good is we're able to collect money at the completion of service. People just expect to pay for the service when they come to pick up their guitar or whatever. We do have minimal accounts receivable. The only time we really get into that is with schools. Um, but as long as you have a purchase order from them, you'll get paid, and reasonably quick too. The money comes in four different forms. We get cash, checks, and then PayPal, like when people buy from eBay, and then ProPay when they use their credit card, either in the shop here or on our online store. So what I do with the cash and checks, that just gets deposited to my business account, and then we set up a weekly draw to my wife and my joint account so that we pay ourselves weekly. And um, usually there's enough money from the cash and checks to cover that. And then our ProPay and PayPal account, both of those accounts have prepaid credit cards. And I use that money to purchase merchandise. Um, and actually the PayPal account has a 1% cash back if you use their credit card. So I use that one as much as possible. So that money just kind of gets set aside. It never sees the bank account unless I come up short in cash and checks. But that money just kind of flows through those accounts and goes up and down on a regular basis. Cost-saving measures, I clip coupons, I watch for sales and rebates, I sign up for all the rewards programs, so I get all the discounts that I can, email. You know, I only buy my business cards when they're having a special at Staples. A lot of times for office supplies, you can get, you know, free reams of paper with rebates. The other thing I do, purchasing merchandise, getting to the point now where items that I used to buy a few at a time, I'm buying, you know, 100 of them, and so I pay a lot less for them, but I'm able to sell them for the same price. And as far as keeping track of everything, if you're new to business or thinking about starting a business, I highly recommend QuickBooks software. That's how we keep track of our sales receipts, invoices, our payments to vendors. It tracks our inventory for us. I can print out a reorder list if I want to set inventory levels on certain items and not run out. Or if I want to, if I know I'm ordering from a vendor, I can print out a report that says, you know, what do I need to reorder from this vendor. And then at tax time, it's, you know, I print out a couple reports and take them to my tax guy, and he just goes from there. Let's see, I have a question. What version of QuickBooks do I use? I believe it's QuickBooks Pro. It's not the highest priced one. It's the middle one. If buying in quantity, what's my targeted turn rate? As far as a turn rate or anything like that, I just kind of take a look at, like, if I'm ordering the things that I order hundreds at a time or 100 at a time, I just look and see, you know, how much have I used in the last year or the last 3 months. It depends on the cost of the item, I guess I would say. But, you know, there's certain items that, you know, 100 we might go through in 2 months possibly. So, and those are lower priced items. Challenges. My biggest challenge that I find is time, and part of that is because I charge for my time, and that's good when things are going well, and all you need to do is do the repairs or whatever. But there's a lot of other things that take up your time when you run a business, like ordering parts, when they come in, checking them in, shipping the items. You know, I spent a couple hours a day shipping things, and just all kinds of things that distract you um, from making the money that you should be making. So at the end of 2010, I kind of had an epiphany. I keep so busy with repairs, and I have a good backlog of repairs to do, that I realized the only thing standing between me and making more money was time. And Also, the other thing that was happening, my daughter's a senior in high school. I was always handing money to her for show choir, school, or whatever, and so I decided that I would just hire her part time, and she does all the shipping and stuff. The string display she's standing in front of, that wasn't there before she came on board. She said, you know, people will buy more if they see them right when they walk in. Um, she's also put her in charge of our social media networking, so she updates our Facebook and things like that. And then somebody asked if we manually enter our eBay sales into QuickBooks. Yes, Brianna does that. She enters them manually in there. So there's probably ways to automate that, which I should look into. Other things, challenges getting people to think of the business as more than a repair shop. That's kind of what it started out to be, but it's kind of turned into much more than that. Besides guitar-related items, I can get drums, cymbals, trumpets, you know, all keyboards, all the kinds of things that you would find in a music store. And not that I'm trying to be a music store, but just getting people to know that, hey, they can get things from me. I mean, I've talked to some of my customers and said, oh, I was just at such and such store and bought this. And I said, oh, well, I can get that. Just getting them to realize that. And then overhead and inventory levels, it's easy to get too much inventory on hand at a time. You know, if an item sells really well at first, but later on it doesn't sell anymore, it's not popular anymore. So you kind of got to watch that, and that's always a challenge. But it's always easier to sell something if you have it on hand too, as opposed to having to order it. Talk about competition a little bit. My business started as Strategic Time. You know, there were music stores and stuff, but I checked with them, and they didn't do like the refinishing work and the fret work and stuff that I do. And at first, competition kind of bothered me, but now it just motivates me to step up my game and you know, be the business that my competition worries about. Not to be cocky or anything, but that's kind of how you got to think. You know, like with the guitar building classes, and just figuring out what can I do that other people aren't doing, and find the niche market on things. As far as competition here in the Quad Cities, there's 3 full-time places that you can take a guitar to that are specific repair shops, and then there's a couple of part-time places. A couple of the part-time guys, though, they're actually customers of mine. They come and buy parts from me. One of them's taking my pedal building class this weekend, and so it's very friendly. As far as competition, there's 2 of us that have websites out of the full and part-time ones, and there's only 2 of us that have Facebook pages, myself and one of the part-time groups too. So, you know, just trying to keep myself more visible out there than anybody else has really helped a lot. You know, I always try to look at my business from a customer perspective, and that's something I recommend that you do. And then look at your competition from a customer's perspective and ask, you know, why would a customer want to do business with you over your competitor, or vice versa? One of the things I try to do is keep the shop looking neat and organized. That gets kind of hard sometimes. Sometimes I'll be working on a guitar and I'll just kind of step back, and it's like I have almost every tool out that I own to work on this guitar. But I try to keep it neat. Every once in a while I go to the front door and just kind of look at the shop and say, okay, here's what my customers see when they walk in, and is that acceptable? The rewards to owning a small business, I get to do what I love every day. It really doesn't seem like a job or like work. I enjoy being here. I probably put in more hours in this business than I did when I was in the corporate world, but it really doesn't seem like work. And every day is different with such a wide variety of things that I get to do every day. It's just real enjoyable, and I guess the biggest satisfaction I get is you know, having satisfied customers and getting feedback from them, and having them come back and bring more work for me, and referring people. That's just a huge boost to my self-esteem or whatever. Here's contact info, and this just kind of lists what all I do, what I'm an authorized dealer for, my website, my online store, my band's website, my eBay seller name, my Facebook page. Brianna set us up with a Twitter account. We haven't been real active on that like we should be, but we're going to get going on that. My email address and phone number. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm getting the 5-minute warning here. Does anybody have any questions?
Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions here for Alan before we go ahead and wrap things up? I want to thank you, Alan, for coming in and agreeing to do this webinar. Great presentation. Your story is really interesting.
Thanks.
Looks like we've got some questions here.
Yeah.
What's the toughest part? Go ahead.
Probably figuring out where to put my time. The toughest part is, do I, try to do stuff to make the money the quickest, or do I look at long-term things and work on that? I'm trying to come up with a system as far as turnaround time. That's one thing that I want to improve is my turnaround time. I've been so busy, and with the incoming repairs, some repairs I can turn around really quick in an hour or so, and some repairs, you spend days on, or if it's a refinish, you might spend months on it. So it's just where to pick it up, what to do on any particular given day. And I'm starting to work on a system that'll help me figure that out. Let's see, when will you be starting your AMP class? Tim, I'm not sure. I will let you know though. Watch my website for that. Have I ever installed a MIDI pickup system? I have installed like the Roland guitar synth systems before, and I also have I'm a GraphTech dealer, so if you're familiar with the GraphTech Ghost system, I can get that for you. How did I find my best supply vendors? A lot of it was out of necessity. As far as guitar parts, All Parts is my main supplier. They have just about everything you might need. Mighty Mite's another supplier, and then it's just been the various other companies that you see listed there that that either people have asked for and I've ordered, or I've realized that that's a product line that I need to add. Tom asks, have I been able to duplicate my corporate income yet? I will put it this way. What I decided to do when I went into this business was what my paychecks were net, my take-home pay, that was the money that went into the bank account at that time. So I didn't really I didn't notice a difference until it comes to tax time, but then I had a lot of deductions working out of my home and stuff. This year I had a little bit better year last year, and so tax time kind of hurt this year. But yeah, I've been able to make enough money to keep it coming in.
Okay, well, and I've got to interject here real quick. I just want to thank all of our attendees for joining us for today's webinar. Also want to share with everyone, we do have a webinar next Thursday, May 5th, over federal contracting, or how to get federal government contracts for business. So be sure to also check that out. And thank you again, Alan, for coming in. Would you be willing to stick around maybe just for a few more minutes, as we might have a few more questions? Can you hear me, Alan? Oh, looks like we lost Alan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Again, we have a webinar next week, learning about the federal government as your customer. Have a great weekend.